Oh my gosh. Is this it? Is it over? Have we finally managed to finish it? Yes! We're at the end of it! We're at the end of those lagging spines! Oh, this is beautiful. Let's do it. Those lagging spines. My Organization 6. Chapter 13. Clever. Because we're not yet dead. As Zeldin lay there, immobile and stunned on the cold floor of who even knew where, shards of glass sticking painfully out various parts of his backside, he tried to remind himself that days like this had to happen every so often to keep you humble. No matter how powerful and non-existent you may have thought yourself, there was always some bitch with a keyboard around to subject you to whatever cruel whims of destiny may have had in store for you for the amusement of thousands of faceless geeks on the World Wide Web. Especially when said bitch is still sore memories of being utterly humiliated by the character in question 19 times in a row when she tried to show off the gameplay of Kingdom Hearts 2 to some friends of hers so they could see what a badass true gamer she was. So take that, you sexy, snarky, pseudo-British bastard! Ha! It then occurred to him that he was being crushed onto the floor by a smaller someone quite heavy for a wifeish 15-year-old boy. He realized he was in a distressing amount of pain for supposedly having shed his moral coil. Whatever happened to the promise of a smooth and painless transition back into the darkness from whence he had come? Hadn't Nomura mentioned something about being reunited with his long-lost heart? Somebody was going to hear about this. Well, nobody actually, but the point was... Zeldin! Roxas! Lexus's deep voice from somewhere above them. Are you alright? Ugh. Well, that depends on your definition of alright. Zeldin answered back at the strained voice as he opened his eyes. Sure enough, he was flat on his back of the remains of a laboratory table in one of the rear cabins of the GSX defenseless. Roxas was slung out on top of him, eyes open and blinking, but looking exceptionally confused. Lexus stood over them, towering even as he kneeled with what could be interpreted as concern. Out of the corner of his eyes, Zelda could see Vexus fuming in the doorway, still deep in mourning for his ruined test tubes and glassware. Fair enough. Lexus shrugged. What's your definition? It's my house, then. No. Lexus said with a certain nod. It's very manly. Then I'm alright. Zelda said hastily. Are we... Roxas murmured hesitantly. Alive? Oh, it will seem so, Zelda sighed. The house would be good enough to get off me! Roxas crawled off, and with Lexus's help, the two of them stumbled to their feet and tidying themselves up, dusting off their coats and discreetly picking chunks of glass from pieces Beth Celeste mentioned. Aside from the lingering pain of falling out of thin air and slamming into extremely expensive and difficult to acquire laboratory equipment, as Vexen kept muttering behind him, they felt quite good for the recently resurrected. Proper color, energy returning as normal, healthily lacking a pulse. Well, I do believe an explanation is in order. Vexen snapped as he finally worked out his outrage long enough to leave the doorway and properly enter the room. I was about to ask you the same thing. What do you want from us? Zeldin muttered. I haven't had the slightest clue of what just happened. How did you escape from Los Masachescos? Leslie shook his head. It wasn't much trouble. The bail went off without a hitch. You and Roxas vanished right alongside the rest of the gutless. The city was as empty and desolate as a ghost town. Self-cleaning gutless, Vexus snorted. Gutless? Roxas echoed, sounded completely baffled. Maso, sexo? We made our way back to the gummy ship and set off for home just as planned. But when we fired up the DEM engines, you suddenly came falling out thin air. Lexus explained. I see, said Zelda in a tone of voice of one that didn't see at all. He wandered over to one of the chairs mounted along the walls of the shipboard laboratory and had a seat, thoroughly exhausted. What about the Tupperware? Did anything happen to it? No, every, is perfectly safe and secure, Lexus assured him. Tupperware? You know, Roxas repeated. What's going on? Vexen took a very deep breath. To make a long story short, The organization was attacked by a group of parasites from beyond dimensions of our universe, transforming most of the members into horrendous creatures who then kidnapped you, Zaldin, Lexus, and I came to rescue you. But unfortunately, you and Zaldin were infected with a parasite that will have led to our joining them. In the last answer to save the universe, you sacrificed yourselves for the greater good, and were annihilated by a powerful superweapon until some idiotic twist of fate. You came autonomously out of a wormhole on board our gummy ship, right above a table on my extremely expensive and difficult to acquire laboratory equipment. There was a pause. Oh, Roxas said quietly, resigning himself to having absolutely no idea what's going on. How do you feel? Lexus asked. Competent, Zaldin replied. Well, as competent as a resurrected cell of a human being can possibly feel, in any case. Good, the silent hero said with a nod. It's good to have you two back. It's good to be back, Zaldin sighed, even with the messy details explaining it all sketchy at best. About that, Zaldin, Roxas, Vexen cut in. I was wondering if you might allow me to have a little look at you. In the interest of science, of course. Perhaps I can create a few theories about what just happened, if you don't mind me dissecting the probability of your further non-existence. I don't really care, Roxas grumbled, crossing his arms. As long as my non-existence exists, there's no point of getting all existential about it. Non-existential, Vexen corrected. There was a pause. Oh, whatever. I'm going to take a nap. Roxas moaned, heading towards the ship's bunk. Call me when we're home. I love you, Roxas. Fist bump. As number 13 made his exit, the three elder nobodies glanced at another one conspiratorially. Do you think we should tell him the full details? Asked Lexus. We could always tell him he does have cuties, Vexen suggested with a smirk. Going any further would probably give him a complex. Foxon, well, nobodies. Zaldin reminded him. Complex is our mental name. Didn't it used to be the comp? Lexus asked. They paused. You're really stretching, aren't you? Vexen directed the question past the fourth wall at the exhausted author. And the answer was yes. Yes, he was. See, hon? It's nice that you admit it. In any case, the perturbed Lexus continued, I'm sure the answer to our little resurrection conundrum lies in a simple examination of the facts. You're honestly expecting anything in the story to make actual sense at this point? Zaldin snorted. You can experiment all you want to get your academic grins. But if you're expecting a logical explanation to all this nonsense, then I've got a beachfront sloth and Agrabah you might be interested in. Mirage! I know that's you, sweetie! Nonsense indeed, Zaldin, Vexen said. I'm sure there must be some scientific explanation for this. If we apply Anson's third theory to Heartless... First things first, science can wait. Zaldin announced, cutting him off mid-sentence. There's something important to do first. What's that? Vexen asked peevishly, as if anything could be more important than silence. Zaldin gritted his teeth on a snide grin. He stood up, clenching one black fist rapidly. Fuck off, he said, top shelf straight, on the rocks. Several hours later, the GS existentialist drifted lazily back through the interstellar keyhole and separated Phantom Hearts from its canon universe counterpart. This left behind the crazy alternate dimension of nightmares and blah 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 behind for good, leaving our heroes with only a short trip through gummy space and a few paragraphs of weak exposition between them and the rebirth of Organization 13 as we know it. Zaldin and Lexus sat around a tall chalkboard in the ship lavatory, watching the third of their member busily scribbling the last bits of a complicated equation. Roxas has retired to the depths of the gummy ship, presumably to use the shipboard computer to post on his live journal. After very careful observation and experimentation, Vexen announced with a few final chalk strokes on the blackboard, I have come to the conclusion that there are two possible ways that Roxas and Zaldin were resurrected from certain death, leading to their rather sudden appearance in the air above my extremely expensive and difficult to acquire laboratory equipment. I will discuss them in order at the least likely to most likely, pausing after each to allow for questions. Good luck ahead, Vexen, Zelda encouraged. Vodka glass in hand and ready for science. Lexus nodded from the chair next to him, a notepad and pencil sitting on his lap. You can skip this first section if you feel like it, Vexen said with a suspicious glance towards the rear, since I doubt any of you would be intelligent enough to really follow it anyway. Go get yourself a bowl of Cheetos, or stare at the pretty banner ads for a while. Maybe you'll win a PSP. Win a PSP. Why would I want shit? Well, half of the reader is now frantically scrolling down the massive blobs of text that took up the next 2 pages of the story. Vexen said it to overcomplicated exposition. Look, hon, I would love to scroll down, but there's this one problem. I agreed to read this. I agreed to sit through the rest of this. First off, we will examine theory number 1, which I've entitled Nobody in Machine Theory. We will start from the moment at which the beta device is activated, the moment of Zeldin's and Rox's supposed death, Vexen said, circling one portion of the exceptionally long formula he had scribbled all the way across the board. When the beta went off, Zeldin and Roxas' bodies were immediately obliterated into a billion microscopic teeny-weeny pieces, or so we believe. In fact, the moment the beta went off, for reasons unknown, Zeldin and Roxas' bodies separated instantaneously from the parasites that infected them, and then teleported away. What? Have you ever seen a television cartoon in which a character runs so fast they leave behind a cloud of smoke behind the shape of their body? Vexen asked. I am proposing a similar event happened here. Zeldin and Roxas' bodies teleported so fast that the parasite was left lagging behind, and was therefore entirely wiped out by the beta. Lots, yes. There to start with, how in the world do you propose we teleported? The DEM engines, Vexen said proudly. At the very last second, the DEM engines were activated by the almighty unseen hand of the author, who did not want the story to end on a sour note by killing off one of the heroes, and the cuddly little teenage woolly boy. Ah. At this point, he went out his talk again and began adding random numbers of multiplication signs to the equation on the board. The DEM engines teleported talented and Roxas' bodies into themselves, keeping them safe from the beta's power. Unless and I returned to the ship and activated said DEM engines, the resulting force caused Zeldin and Roxas to teleport once again. The space in the air above my extremely expensive and difficult to acquire laboratory equipment. And the rest, he concluded the formula, drawing a smiley face and a conclusive underline, is history. He stood, waiting for feedback on this great theory, met only the wide-eyed stares of his 2 compatriots. Well? Lots. Yes. Idiotic! I think what Zeldin means to say, Vexen, is that your theory is a little... let's just pause for tact. Well, it's pretty stupid. Call it what you will, Vexen huffed, but it's supported by solid, scientific, documented evidence that I gathered upon examining the inner workings of the DEM engines, the state of Roxas and Zeldin's bodies, and the timeline of events. Even our initial examinations of the gutless parasite suggests a very sluggish movement compared to normal atoms. That's completely ridiculous, Zeldin complained. You expect me to believe that what Roxas and I experienced was simply a cartoonization of all faces as we know it, requiring a tremendous suspension of disbelief, and perhaps another 12 vodkas worth of brain function decoration. And what's your other theory, Vexen? Asked Alexis on the side. Vexen rolled his eyes. My second theory is called the EBA theory. It suggests that there is a secret government agency made up of agents who, upon receiving a distress call... The nobody in machine theory! Sounded erratic frantically. What a brilliant discovery! What a splash you'll make in the scientific community! Vexen, I believe you're already onto something now! Thank you, Zeldin, Vexen huffed, puffering his nails on the collar of his coat. Alexis wisely decided to change the subject was in order. Well, gentlemen, I'll be excited for things to get back to normal in the world that never was. Won't you? You have never out there, Zeldin moaned. I never got to finish that book of blank verse I was reading in chapter 1. I'll be thrilled to get home, Vexen muttered. All this data, all these samples we collected from Random Huts. You're going to study them? Asked Lexus.
Heavens, no! I'm going to throw them in a little folder and shove it into the very back of my research cabinet where it can rot for the rest of the time!
Oh boy, the next time I play Kingdom Hearts 2, I'm going to search the castle it never was, and I'm going to find a lab, and I'm going to have Sora point out this book. And I will too. Lysa said distastefully.
I won't have this garbage getting in the way of my ordinary experiments!
I'm looking forward to a tall cup of coffee, personally. Lysis chimed in. 2 sugars and a lot of milk. Like my soul. I am curious, however, Zelda cut in, how things went with Axel and Loxodine and Charles and the others while they were gone.
I wouldn't be concerned,
Vexen said with a slight yawn, while he shocked dust off his hands on a nearby cloth.
Both Axel and Loxodine are perfectly responsible. I place full faith in their leadership abilities. I'm sure they took very good care of the others while we were away.
We're gonna stand our ground! Came the demanding cry of a Session, suspended in midair from the roof of the Theater of Hollow Melodies. He appeared, for all intents and purposes, dressed as a sitar. A chorus of manly voices echoed, "Na na na na! For freedom, beauty, and the truth of love! Na 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 na!" At the front of the lavishly decorated stage, Sebas cradled Syx, the former in a simple dress of a penniless sitar player, and the latter in a bedazzling, full-length white evening gown with rhinestones and a sequin light sarong. One day I'll fly away. My gift is my song. Though the audience at dusk wasn't absolutely thrilled, there was a trio of cranks in the aisles that didn't seem to be enjoying the show too much. Oh, they did this entirely of their own volition. Sounded asked the place director, with a dead sort of look on his face. Of course, Axel said seriously, scratching the back of his head. Vexen looked, for the lack of a better word, vexed.
You didn't plant this idea in their heads at all.
Nope. They dressed up and decided to make lavish costumes and put on an amateur production of Moulin Rouge while we were away. Lexus queried, complete with full stage makeup and beautifully painted backdrops and scenery. What can I say? We appreciate the arts here in the world that never was. Axel beamed across his arms proudly. And of course they asked you to film it, Zelda posed to the one running the camera.
We believe that even without hearts, there's always a place for culture in our world,
Marcy said innocently.
And that culture should be preserved on DVD or high-quality VHS.
Yours today for the low price of 150 money. I got 120. Axel cut in.
Right!
Vexen muttered, rolling his eyes. In any case, we've returned from the mission successfully. All UNOs are present and accounted for. All members of Organization 13 have been recovered, and things should finally start settling down. Lysa said in an attempt to change the subject.
Isn't that special? Whoop-dee-doo.
Let's get our comrades back to normal now, if you don't mind, Nexus, Zelda told him. As he pulled out the Tupperware from his sleeves and prepared to open it, Lysa silently grasped his arm.
Wait, she said abruptly, if you don't mind, they just worked so hard on this.
Really? Axel lied.
You have no sense of theatrical timing.
Oh, all right. Lysa sighed across his arms, waiting for his finale to be over with. Roxas stood nearby, watching the spectacle in horror at the climax came soaring to its pinnacle. I will love you.
I have to admit, their casting is rather... What is the word I'm looking for?
Vexen murmured. Effective.
Nightmare-inducing.
Yes, I will love you. The UKs lined up across the stage, threw their arms in the air, lifting their voices and singing loudly as they could. Syx fell back into Simmons' arms and was hit onto the stage. All right, here I go. Love you until my dying day. With the final note, Lysis popped the lid off the Tupperware, releasing a beautiful shower of purples, into the air. They started up above the stage like fireworks, just as Damix pulled a rope to dump a bucket full of sparkling confetti down on the cast. It was a rather spectacular sight, captured forever on film as Larkstring hastily snapped a series of pictures. Then, almost on cue, the Unos tumbled down from the top of the theater towards the players. Each one colliding with a misty blast of testosterone, and shock forcing nobody to freeze his face. There were a few moments of silence. Exactly 15.13 seconds later, Zen is with a tremendous thump on the stage floor. There is a horrified, innocent scream. There came a uproarious burst of laughter from Axel and Larxene, quickly drowned out by an extremely loud chorus of nobody voices, questioning, demanding, and trying to reason what in the world was going on. Saladin chuckled.
That?
Yes, Vexen, as Lexus. If Vexen had a heart, and were capable of it, you would have seen him quickly reaching up to wipe away a single tear.
That was beautiful.
The adventure had wound to a close, and all that was left was for the long explanations and epic recounting of the events depicted throughout the chapters of this fanfic so far. Even though Zaldin, Vexus, and Lexus were in no mood to recap the trials and tribulations of the terrifying trip. Fortunately for the three of them, it was Thursday night. Thursday night was suggestively movie night in the world it never was. And despite the shocking events of the day so far, none of Organized Season 13 was willing to miss it. It seemed that the vast majority of them would have rather tried to forget the situation they had woken up to pretend it was merely a bad dream. Unfortunately for Organized Season 13, the movie for tonight was entitled Axel and Larxene's Funniest Home Videos! It consisted entirely of footage footage and slideshows of what the rest of the group had been up to during the big blank spot in their memories. The screaming could be heard for miles in Dark City. And if you were really listening, as far as Twilight Town. Seltzer. What? Having seen quite enough of their comrades in humiliating situations for a good long while. Though, Saladin, Vexus, and Lexus opted out of the movie night, and instead decided to throw a celebratory social for just the three of them. In the big cozy armchairs around the fireplace in the non-entity's library, enjoying an extra large bottle of fine champagne and light refreshments. What does one say at the end of something like this? Pondered Lexus. Something so unbelievable and terrible that the majority of us are going to pretend it never happened. I'm reminded of a saying, Saladin quipped, that the best part of the adventure is when it's over.
I hope this will be the beginning of a nice long vacation for the three of us.
Vexen sighed. I'm off until the evening of the 21st, Saladin replied. I've been assigned to go torment some orphans in Agrabah. No such luck for me, Lexus lamented. They have me down for a 2-week stint in Atlantic the next week.
Oh, that's terrible!
It's not so bad, Lexus shrugged, standing up and heading for a nearby table where the refreshments were set. Once you get used to the terrible controls anyway.
No! Nobody can get used to those things. That level was freaking annoying. That's why I love the musical version.
Speaking of which, I'm not the only one who's hoping at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, when we get to Agrabah again, instead of copying the King of Thieves, we bring in Mozenrath. Come on, who wouldn't want to see us take on Mozenrath? And I want Quentin Flynn to also voice Mosey. I just want that. Saladin not in agreement and sighed. A nobody's work is never truly done. Cake, Saladin? Lexus asked. Please.
Me as well.
Both his comrades turned to him with looks of utter shocks on their faces. Lexus nearly dropped the knife. Really, Vexen?
Indeed,
said the chilly academic, looking smug. I thought you weren't getting along with the C-word anymore, Saladin said, impressed.
Whatever would that be?
Vexen replied.
Remind me once more, gentlemen. What's the number one thing to remember about nobodies?
They have no hearts, Lexus answered.
Yes,
Vexen nodded.
And this gentleman is Boston King Cake. Nobody said anything about lacking taste buds.
The sky was dark in the world that never was. It was looking like to be a peaceful evening. Or morning. Nobody could ever tell.
Ding!
The end. This fic, allow me to take the time to remember all the things I've been through. This is the end. My only friend, the end. This is the end. This is the middle of our story. The middle. This is the ending of our. Oh! The ending. Oh. In all seriousness, this fanfic was hilariously awesome. I think I'll go away with doing my usual and go with some of the downsides first. There were a few grammatical hiccups here and there. They were tiny, but I could tell. Some things I have a feeling her beta probably missed, like, say, a comma splice here and there, and some tiny grammatical errors once in a while. And in the first two chapters, it took a while for not only her to find a voice, but for me to find a voice for the characters as well. Don't get me wrong, I mean, they got the characters down. I mean that it took her about 1 to 2 chapters for her to probably decide exactly whose role was where. I mean, by the end of this, she got the roles pretty down pat of who she wanted. But in the beginning, it was like, okay, I have a feeling the author was going like, alright, I want Lexus. Alright, who do I want Lexus to be? Do I want him to be this? Do I want Fexen to be like this? Do I want Saladin? Saladin to be like this? Yada, yada, yada. Heck, even in the author's notes, she mentions that when this started, she was just doing this to riff on bad fanfic cliches. It wasn't until later that she moved on and realized where she wanted to go. This is one of the harder things to review for me because of the basis of comedy. Because all comedy is subjective. What one person may find to be one of the funniest jokes in the world could find it boring. Heck, even the most deadliest joke out there from Monty Python probably won't affect on everybody because not everybody's going to get the joke. Unless it's got some sort of special algorithm. Need to test that theory. But I can say this, that for me personally, all the jokes hit their mark perfectly. Because I can relate to all of them. But it mainly helps because I always feel like this is where me and the critic differ. The critic believes that all comedy is suffering. But it's not. I like to point to Animaniacs and Tiny Toons Adventures. Some of the best jokes are not the ones where the cast is suffering or in pain or in misery. I mean, could you tell me who's suffering with the guy who's going, well, man, you got a lot of special freaky powers, man. It's like, well, man, you're in my head, bro. Something with the kid thing. Again, man. Vorleven. I haven't said I love that episode of Animaniacs. I'm gonna go watch that now. But I believe that comedy comes from a mix of things. Like, say, embarrassment, surprise, the unexpected, and, of course, characters. I'd like to point out that, for me, some of the Crisis Best episodes are always the ones that he doesn't always have, say, the sketches, and he's just going reacting. That's because, for the most part for me, I treat the critic as a blank slate. I treat the critic as just the guy who I barely know who's just reacting to some of the stuff the first time. For me, some of these characters are more relatable to me because, again, they are based like going and sitting through the stuff that I have actually sat through several times. With the exception of a high school fic, I've never actually read a high school alternate AU. I sat through my mother's RP of it with Full Metal characters, but I've never actually read one. And unless the word is Equestria Girls, I'm never going to. But it doesn't help that these characters also serve not only as straight men to the scenarios, but they also serve as straight men to each other. At the same time, they also serve as the guys who are throwing the one-liners. This is why I really enjoy Lexus, because he is the most straight man of our three straights. You know what I mean. He offered a chance for all this weirdness that does bounce off of him, and for him to also start responding to the other two characters. This is what helps give his jokes the most clarity, because then you can just see him basically snark or just be very calm about it. Vexen, I have to admit, he was kind of my favorite. Just because he served as a good leeway. He generally acted with outrage at certain moments, while at the same time he also brought a certain calmness, a certain sincerity to his mannerisms when he started going, "Alright, I'm going to analyze this. Oh, by the way, when you present this..." And I'm quite glad I was able to change my voice to Link Sano. And then we have Zaladin, who also offered a really good look at things by, well, being a snarky British bastard. And I apologize for not giving a British accent for the first few chapters. Excuse me, but it's been a while. Excuse me, but it had only been about a year since I had last played Kingdom Hearts 2, and I do not always remember the nobodies. With the exception of Axel. And I just have a feeling that a lot of Organization 13 fans are right now up in arms. Eep. Which leads me to the Senes, who are all, for surprisingly stereotypes of bad fanfic creations, they are all beautifully done. I love them. They're also well crafted, because they are sort of like certain minds, and not just stereotypes of the people who look at this. They're also kind of the minds of what some of these bad fanfic writers are like. I said no, because when it comes to that crackfic guy, when I let go, yeah, that's me. Or that emo guy, I can always think, you know what? Yeah, that's the way some of these guys are, because they always think that, being depressed and sad, that means real, man. That means real dramatic stuff. All this really, really dark and sadness and depressing. Yeah, that's real deep, man. That's, deep. It's deep, bro. It's kind of like watching a guy who wants to say that he is sticking to the lore of Superman when he kills, and he's saying that this is supposed to be showing the realism of the whole entire world, and you guys don't understand my vision. Why can't you just leave me alone, you horrible brutes? Yep. All that way for a Zack Snyder joke. You're welcome. Or sometimes over-the-top ridiculousness, like, say, Ansem. Which I'm going to smack for that man sex joke, but and again, I should have been surprised. All these characters brought something unique to the table. They brought in a hilarity that gave the story a beautiful way of looking at things, and the morals are very, very true. I know I was talking about the crossovers, but yeah, I was joking around with it. But you know what? In a way, the crossover moral was very, very true, considering the fact that what we're doing on the main show right now. Speaking of which, if any of you guys can get me out of there, please send help! But we also got other gags too. We also have other lessons and other morals that, in the essence, remain true to this day, and especially through for some certain idiots. Oh, hi, Maiken. I think it can be best summed up in the last lesson of the whole entire fic. Was this the biggest moral? Yeah. Go ahead and have your AUs and your crossover fics. Just be warned that when you submit this to the internet, people like me and so many others are going to look this up. And we are going to offer our opinions. And for good or for bad, we are going to tell you if we think it sucks or not. And it's up to you to decide whether or not to take that advice. Or to understand where we're coming from. Because, let's face it, if you're going to create something like this for the internet to enjoy, why not try and make it, good? Put in some decent writing and put in some well-meaning characters. If we can actually, help. If you actually pay attention to the comments and pay attention to what people say rather than going, you don't understand me. Because if you're going to post it out, then you gotta understand, people are going to read it. Not all of them are coming here just to see your story. They want a good story. They want to see something out there that they can't get in the canon. They're going to want to see something special. They want to see a unique take on the characters. They don't want to see a badly written, badly plotted story that obviously is done by a guy who can't write. And I think that was the best understanding, because I love what the author pointed out, that in the very first time, she wanted to just riff on cliches. This, yes, I just wanted to put a story behind it. As a guy who's right now writing basically a deconstruction of a certain moral, I can relate. I really can relate to that. Well, that was one down, thousands more to go. I'll see you all next time. Oh, next Sunday? Gaia.